Tonight, airlines brace for a slowdown as Canadians cancel trips to the US. The trust is gone. Why would a Canadian want to go to the United States right now? The tariff backlash is already being felt south of the border. We're about 40% less over last year, one industry expert noted. Calls for a patriotic display on Flag Day are growing. We're not going to America. We're not spending our money there. It's Canada first, baby. On social media, Canadians are loud and proud about boycotting trips to the US, including flights and accommodations. Michelle Porter is among them. She had a Florida trip booked for herself and 6 family members. But Donald Trump's tariff threats changed everything. "I just canceled it," she said, referring to a 2-week vacation that included flights, accommodations, and Disney World tickets. Thanks to insurance, she recovered most of her money, but still lost about $1,300 USD. She has no regrets. "As Canadians, we need to stick together in unity. I raise my children to feel the same and be proud Canadians." Millions of Canadians are canceling their US travel plans, boycotting tourism in a powerful response to Trump's tariffs. Major destinations are feeling the impact, and Canadian patriotism is surging. This backlash could cost the US billions and reshape North American tourism in the future. What happens next? The controversy began when President Trump announced plans to impose 25% tariffs on most Canadian goods, with oil, gas, and electricity taxed at 10%. This move was part of a broader trade dispute involving Canada, Mexico, and China. The tariffs were initially set to take effect on February 4, 2025, but were paused for 30 days following last-minute negotiations between Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The situation escalated when Trump made provocative comments about making Canada the 51st state, further straining diplomatic relations. In response, Prime Minister Trudeau imposed retaliatory 25% tariffs on US goods, including Wisconsin dairy products, Florida oranges, and Kentucky bourbon. On February 3, 2025, Trudeau delivered a solemn 13-minute televised speech, urging Canadians to choose Canada and reconsider travel plans to the US. "There are many ways for you to do your part. It might mean checking the labels at the supermarket and picking Canadian-made products. It might mean opting for Canadian rye over Kentucky bourbon, or skipping Florida orange juice altogether. It might mean changing your summer vacation plans to stay here in Canada and explore the many national and provincial parks, historical sites, and tourist destinations our great country has to offer." This sentiment was echoed by David Abey, Premier of British Columbia, who stated, "Canadians should really be thinking carefully about spending our money in that country. If the US wants to do economic harm to Canadians, the impact on public sentiment has been significant, sparking a wave of Canadian patriotism and widespread boycotts of US travel and goods." Social media platforms are flooded with Canadians sharing their decisions to cancel US trips and choose domestic or alternative international destinations instead. Poll conducted by Narrative Research in the Maritime Provinces revealed that 62% of respondents plan to travel less to the US in the coming year, up from 37% in December 2024. The main reasons cited were dissatisfaction with Trump's leadership, 54%, safety concerns, including fear of violence, crime, and US gun culture, 35%, a desire to financially boycott US goods in opposition to Trump's economic policies, 35%, the travel industry feels the effects. The travel industry is already seeing the impact of this. Boycott. Flight Centre. Canada's largest travel agency, reported a surge in customers cancelling US vacations and rebooking elsewhere. Amra Dukovic from Flight Centre stated, "Canadians are taking a stand in solidarity. They're showing Americans, or rather the US administration, where they're going to spend their tourism dollars." Dukovic added that Flight Centre has already helped Canadians switch US travel plans and rebook elsewhere, including high-value trips worth $2,000 or more. She emphasized that Canadians are resilient, resourceful, and proud to support the values they believe in. Cancellations hit cruise industry. The impact is spreading across multiple travel sectors. The cruise industry, a popular choice for Canadian travelers, is experiencing significant cancellations. One Canadian Threads user reported cancelling an Alaska cruise, stating, "Beautiful Vancouver Island, British Columbia, has just as much to offer. Columbia, I am a proud Canadian. This is how close we are to the USA, the country we always thought of as our friends and neighbours. I'm hoping this can turn around, but rest assured, we won't forget. Once bitten, twice shy. Canada strong. Travel agencies are adjusting too. We've analysed our numbers and found that bookings to the US for leisure travel are down about 40% compared to last year." He says customers are also questioning whether to fly with US airlines at all. That's true for this Canadian couple, now selling their property in California. "When we go down there to finalise the sale, we'll be flying out of Toronto on a Canadian airline. It's not necessarily cheaper for us, but I'm intentionally avoiding anything that will put money into that system, I guess. And even if the tariffs never materialize, I will not go to the United States as long as Donald Trump is in power." And, Erica, it's not just Michelle Porter. A survey released this week found that nearly half of Canadian travellers are less likely to visit the US. Of course, this is part of a broader movement among Canadians, choosing Canadian groceries over American ones, pouring California wine down the drain, and even booing the American national anthem. Since Trump announced the 25% tariff, Canadians have been looking for ways to express their displeasure with the US administration. Tomorrow, we may see another display of patriotism, with former prime ministers and politicians encouraging Canadians to fly a Canadian flag. Another Canadian cruiser shared on Reddit, "My wife and I had planned a cruise in October, leaving from Vancouver, sailing to Hawaii for 6 days, before returning to the mainland in San Diego, where we planned to spend a few extra days before flying back to Vancouver Island. Due to Trump's tariffs and the trade war, we will no longer be spending thousands of tourist dollars in the US. Theme parks and popular US destinations are also affected." Amanda Lai Smith told CBC News that she cancelled a planned 2-week trip to Disneyland and Universal Studios, opting instead for a road trip to Mexico. She explained, "We have always been a family that sees ourselves as allies to those who consider themselves part of minority groups. The 5 most visited US states by Canadians, Florida, California, Nevada, New York, and Texas, are expected to see significant declines in retail and hospitality revenue. In Florida alone, Canadians made up 38% of all foreign tourists in 2023, according to Visit Florida. As Canadians shift their travel patterns, interest in domestic tourism and alternative international destinations is growing." Darkovich noted a rise in bookings to Canada's East Coast, Mexico, Portugal, and Antigua. The economic impact on the US could be severe. The US Travel Association has warned that even a 10% reduction in Canadian travel could result in 2 million fewer visits, $2.1 billion in lost spending, and 14,000 job losses. This is particularly concerning, given that Canada is the top source of international visitors to the US, with 2.4 million visits in 2024, generating $20.5 billion in spending and supporting 140,000 American jobs. Specific US states and industries are bracing for impact. In Texas, Canada is the second largest international visitor market, driving $43.3 million in travel spending in 2023. Val Peacock, chair of the Municipal Council in Bar Harbor, Maine, expressed concern about the potential impact on her town, which is linked to Nova Scotia by the Cat Ferry. She stated, "It does make me sad on a personal level. Bar Harbor is a big tourism spot in Maine, and what is going to happen to our economy and individual people? We don't know. The long-term consequences for US-Canada relations remain uncertain. The situation has already strained diplomatic ties, with potential implications for trade agreements like NAFTA. The global perception of this dispute could also have far-reaching effects on international relations and trade dynamics. For Canada, the situation presents both challenges and opportunities. While the tourism industry may see a boost in domestic travel, Canadian airlines and travel agencies are grappling with shifting demand. Porter Airlines reported some softening of select US leisure markets, but noted increased bookings for routes. Within Canada, the airline stated, "We initially saw some softening of select US leisure markets, but it is too early to determine if there are any strong trends, one way or the other. Many routes have seen increased bookings in recent days. Choose to travel more domestically. 75% of our peak summer capacity is for routes within Canada. There is also the opportunity for more Americans to visit Canada to benefit from the exchange rate." WestJet Airlines stated they are actively reviewing and working with the Government of Canada on the potential impacts of tariffs and related countermeasures. Air Canada said it continues to monitor the situation, but due to its fluidity, it is premature to comment. The business travel sector is also experiencing changes. A survey by YouGov found that 85% of Canadian small and mid-size enterprises said US tariffs or trade restrictions would decrease their corporate travel for trade business activities. According to Darkovich, more than 3/4 of these businesses are looking at new markets, potentially signaling a shift in North American business dynamics. In the short term, the situation has sparked debates about personal values and political stances among Canadian travelers. Jordan Danger, an Ottawa artist, told CBC News that she cancelled her trip to the United States later this year as a matter of principle. Jason Dale, a 52-year-old high school teacher from Port Dover, Ontario, had been planning a family vacation to Tennessee for over a year. Along with 2 other families, they were set for a road trip to Dollywood, the Titanic Museum attraction, and the Great Smoky Mountains. However, they have now scrapped those plans. Dale explained, "The rhetoric about tariffs, the mockery of our Prime Minister, and the musings about us becoming the 51st state, that did it for all of us. Everyone was in agreement that we're not going. We're going to keep our money in our own country." The Dale family's decision reflects a broader trend. Christine Gurr, founder of the motor coach tour company Maple Leaf Tours in Kingston, Ontario, reported that her business has already taken a 30% hit in cancellations for US packages this year, which include destinations like Nashville, Washington, and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We'll see a similar amount. Meanwhile, Chinese goods will be hit with an additional 10% tariff. These are all expected to take effect as of February 3rd. The president is warning that Americans will feel a little short-term pain. But what he left out is that this pain comes on top of the steepest spike in inflation this generation has felt. The grocery store is likely to be the first place where most Americans feel the impact. We're talking about $46 billion worth of food items from Mexico alone. 20% of our fresh fruits and vegetables come from our southern neighbor. And it's not just avocados. Alcoholic beverages are also on the tariff hit list, including beer, tequila, and of course, mezcal. Your next new car is likely to be at least $3,000 more expensive. According to some estimates, you might think that because your automobile is made in the USA, you'll be immune, but even cars assembled within the border have dozens of parts made in Mexico and Canada. Anything you have to replace that contains steel will face higher tariffs, since Canada and Mexico will no longer be exempt from global steel tariffs. Home prices, which are already at or near record highs, will be impacted. 30% of the type of lumber used to build homes comes from Canada, while 71% of the materials used in drywall are imported from Mexico, and that's just the impact of Mexican and Canadian tariffs. Chinese products are even more abundant inside and outside our homes, ranging from the things we cook and eat with, to what we wear on our feet and backs, and even what our kids play with. Wall Street is in an uproar as the Trump Trade War 2.0 begins, with the impact being felt on both sides of the border. New Jersey resident Monica Church received a cancellation from a Canadian couple for their month-long stay at her vacation rental in North Myrtle Beach. The couple cited the trade war as the reason for their cancellation. Church expressed understanding and admiration for the couple's commitment to Canadian solidarity, stating, "I'm a little jealous of that feeling where you feel for your country so much that you band together, kind of like how everyone felt after 9/11. You felt proud to be an American. I haven't felt proud to be an American lately. I have a rainbow on my fanny pack. So am I now a walking target. I'm not part of the LGBTQ+ community, but I'm an ally. If I show my Canadianism just by the way I speak, is that going to put a target on my back?" These concerns are not one-sided. Church, who had been planning a road trip to Montreal and Quebec with her husband, now wonders if their American license plate could make them targets in Canada. The boycott is having a particularly significant impact on